What is a good clue that someone is way smarter than they let on? They ask good questions. Because that's how you learn things. Totally agree. Smart people are genuinely inquisitive about things and have a natural desire to learn about them, even if it's your own boring life at a barbecue or something. When they say something intentionally stupid for comedic effect, but people fail to realize this and think they meant it and really are stupid. They don't talk about how smart they are. As odd as it sounds, a lack of conviction. I grew up around uneducated people, and they were often very opinionated, utterly convinced of what they thought they knew, which was damned near everything. Then I got out of the shithole I grew up in, went to college, become an engineer, found people to be much more reasonable about their opinions, more willing to part with them or recognize that they don't know something. Certainty is a privilege reserved for the ignorant and the deluded. When you explain something to them that they have minimal to zero previous knowledge about, they understand what you're saying and ask questions to deepen that understanding. Also, occasionally they get super excited about something they care about and go into way more detail about that thing than most people could ever keep in their heads. If they are able to have a conversation with anyone, if they are able to alter the way they speak, so people that aren't as smart as them understand what they are saying, that's a smart person with good social skills. You cheated. Social skills is just being socially smart. Social skills are a form of smartness. Being able to make people like you takes a lot of skill. They can explain hard concept clearly. I had a friend in high school who was brilliant, but unless you had classes with her or talked to her regularly, you wouldn't know it. She had a gift for tutoring and helping others because she could take hard concepts and break it down in a simple and easy to understand way. She was also very humble and overall a great person. Last I heard from her, she was still doing great things. Now, my so is pretty smart, and he is terrible at explaining things. You ask him, how do I get from point A to point C? And his response is, here is how point B works and how it relates to point A and point C. Like you know he knows the answer, but his natural inclination isn't to tell you the answer, it's to explain why the answer is what it is, which is extremely annoying. They avoid using absolutes like always and never. I always poop in the toilet. I never poop in the refrigerator. I don't see a problem with this. I never poop in the toilet. I always poop in the refrigerator. I also see nothing wrong with this. Their decisions don't make sense until they peel back the layers of their reasoning for you, and you learn a lot just listening to them. Also, when they're as smart as you are while stoned out of their gourd. Sillier, but still smart. Source: longtime stoner friend of mine is brilliant when sober and impossible to lose when a debate against. Stoned, they're still creative as all get out. They don't instantly jump on you if you mispronounce something or make a mistake. But they often will try to politely correct you, out of wanting to genuinely expand your knowledge, not because they want to seem smart. Plus, there are exceptions. I am a teacher, so my natural inclination is to politely correct people so they don't make the same mistake twice. Obviously, I've had to suppress this instinct online, otherwise I'd spend all my time correcting people's spelling and grammar, lol. They don't use Rick and Morty as crux of intelligence. To be fair, you have to have a very high IQ to understand Rick and Morty. The humor is extremely subtle, and without a solid grasp of theoretical physics, most of the jokes will go over a typical viewer's head. There's also Rick's nihilistic outlook, which is deftly woven into his characterization. His personal philosophy draws heavily from Narrativa Volia literature, for instance. The fans understand this stuff. They have the intellectual capacity to truly appreciate the depths of these jokes, to realize that they're not just funny, they say something deep about life. As a consequence, people who dislike Rick and Morty truly are idiots. Of course, they wouldn't appreciate, for instance, the humor in Rick's existential catchphrase, "Wubba lubba dub dub," which itself is a cryptic reference to Turgenev's Russian epic Fathers and Sons. I'm smirking right now just imagining one of those addlepated simpletons scratching their heads in confusion as Dan Harmon's genius wit unfolds itself on their television screens. What fools! How I pity them. I've met a few people that were able to have two conversations at once, and many of their responses clearly applied to both conversations. They were clearly smarter than the average bear. Their sense of humor. How quickly they learn new things. Do they have to plod from A to B to C, or can they make the logical leap from A to E? The way they verbalize or explain ideas can be very telling. They let others lead first and learn from their mistake. The sneaky kind of smart. A smart man learns from his mistakes. A wise man learns from the mistakes of others. Someone who can change their opinion when presented with new facts or a convincing argument. When you see them having an argument-disagreement discussion with someone, and you know they are right and the other guy is wrong, but instead of getting heated, they just concede to the other guy knowing that they're right regardless. Conceding when you're right isn't a sign of intelligence unless it's for a greater good, i.e. with a so. You're right that smart people won't get heated. Instead, they'll actually listen to the argument of the other regardless of how wrong it is and discredit it point by point. When you never see them make the same mistake twice. They calmly get you to open up without asking any questions. Then sit back and listen, pure evil. I have a friend and I consider him a genius. I also know a lot of people who think they're geniuses and are probably nowhere near his level of intellect. My friend is very humble and never talks about how smart he is. One thing I have noticed is that he consistently asks precise questions, as if he understands exactly where the holes in his knowledge are and what he needs clarification on. Dunning-Kruger effect may be relevant as an answer. The high-end intelligence side of the decay effect comes from acquiring such a high degree of intuition on a subject that you no longer expend any mental effort on it. You do it with such second nature that you can't understand how other people can't do it, because you don't understand how you do it yourself. I think this is why some of my professors are bad at explaining things. They're so smart that it's all just obvious. This is a genuinely difficult problem for teachers. Imagine trying to teach someone to cook and you start off with, "Okay, so I'm gonna grab some milk from the refrigerator and pour it in a bowl," and they ask, "What is milk? What's a bowl? How do you pour?" These concepts are so absurdly simple and commonplace to you, you don't even imagine they might be foreign concepts. Now imagine trying to teach cooking to that same person except they never ask any questions, and it isn't until deep into the lesson you realize they've been struggling to understand from the very beginning. Or, imagine that person thought a clarinet is a bowl, and simply nodded their head when you talked about the bowl, not realizing their mistake, and you not even imagining they could get something so simple so wrong. The larger the difference in skill level between teacher and student, the more difficult it is to teach. They don't talk much. Usually that means there's a whole lot going on in their head, and they think a lot more than they speak. They are knowledgeable about a diverse set of topics and are genuinely engaging in conversation. When you never see them make the same mistake twice. I find it very ironic that you accidentally posted this twice. Well, he made the mistake only once. They look through these comments and take mental notes on how to seem smarter. They pause and think before answering a question. They love to learn. Intelligent people often avoid small talk and hate gossip. People who can plot out all the ways something might fail and have already started making contingency plans for what happens in the event of various hypothetical failures. Any professors that can teach their subject matter in a way that the students can easily understand is what I consider to be a smart person. Not everyone that knows the subject matter perfectly can also teach the subject matter easily. They see the solution in any problem. I've known people like this. No matter how complicated something is, they pause for a second, and then point out exactly what really needs to change in order for things to work. It's kind of amazing. A stupid person's report of what a clever person says can never be accurate, because they unconsciously translate what they hear into something they can understand. Bertrand Russell. The smartest people I know tend to be really harsh on themselves and think they're stupider than others because they're more aware of when they make mistakes. Obviously, this only covers one type of smart person. I've met really confident smart people too, but the ones closest to me are the kinds that are overly critical of themselves, so they're who I think of first. They watch Rick and Morty. What else betrays an intelligent person? Leave a comment and subscribe to the channel if you want to see more videos like this one.